Hi, this is Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. We are continuing speaking about capable leaders, and I'm sure you realize that I focus a little bit on church leaders, but of course, the concept of leadership is vast. I've said that before, that the concept of leadership is actually a general topic. It's complex. It speaks to leaders in corporate. It speaks to leaders at home. It speaks to leaders in church as well. I've actually just tailor-made it slightly to leaders in church, but of course, we speak about leaders in general. And I hope that will help you to understand that. We have spoken about what we call God's given capabilities, which will be the leaders that we claim that they are born leaders. But today I want to speak about natural and spiritual gifts. I want to speak about natural and spiritual gifts as part of leaders, of leadership capabilities that people have, that leaders have. And that's what we want to focus on today, and I hope that helps you to learn quite a bit out of it. A spiritual gift is unique, and I'm sure you will understand that many people that are not spiritual may not understand this, but spiritual gift is very unique. God-given ability for service. That's what we call a spiritual gift. Because God has got a purpose with one, has got actually a vision that he gives an individual. What he does, he will actually give you some capabilities spiritually that will align you to that which purpose, that which you were purposed to do, or that which you came for on earth, that which you were born to do on earth. And God gives you that abilities. And that's what we call God-given abilities, or what we call spiritual gifts. Because God gives those abilities for his own service, so that you can be able to accomplish that which you're called to do. Now, every believer and thus every leader will have one or more of the spiritual gifts. And that's very, very important. But all leaders will not necessarily have the same gifts. And that's very interesting, because they will not have the same gifts, but they will have one or two gifts that are in line with their purpose. Now, it is very important that one in life establishes what their purpose is, because it is then easier to identify the gifts and capabilities that one has when you know what purpose you are for, or what purpose you're called to do. And when you know the purpose, it's easier sometimes to identify even the skills that comes along with it. And that is purely because God gives those spiritual gifts for the sake of ability for service that God has given you based on the purpose that God has given you as an individual. I must also mention that the Bible speaks much more about, because these are spiritual gifts. All leaders are not necessarily having the same gifts, but you'll realize that in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12, if you go through verse 15 to 17, and also read verse 27, verse 29 to 31, please look at that. No, exercise a gift in the same ministry context. So you may not have the same gifts, you may not be able to exercise the same gift in the same context as well. So when one runs a ministry, even though the ministry may look the same, in the sense that maybe you're called to become a pastor, but your gift may be different. And that's amazing, because God does that, because God gives. He's the giver of the gifts, actually. Now, scripture is clear that all three members of the Godhead are the source of these gifts. And that is explained in the book of Romans, chapter 12. If you read verse 3, and also go to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 11. That will actually emphasize that. And I want to refer you also to the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 7 to 11. That's just amazingly something that's articulated there as well. You could actually read that at your own time, because that will help you to understand God's gifts or spiritual gifts. Now, the purpose of these gifts is to enable leaders to serve God more effectively. Because you cannot be able to serve God effectively if you don't have a gift to serve him. And God dish out these gifts so that we may be able to serve him. So there's no reason not to serve him to our maximum potential if he has given us a gift. Because he gives us a gift so that we can be able to serve him according to his purpose, and effectively so. Not sit on the sidelines and watch the game as if we are watching a movie. And sit on the sidelines and watch as if we are watching a sport that is played. Everybody should be involved because of the gifts that God gave us. Now you become capable because God has made you capable. And hence, as we speak about capable leaders, it's because God has made them capable. And you are capable because God has given you some gifts that make you capable. Now, God more effectively not sit has made us more effectively has made us to really be effective in an area where you are called to do. Now, the different kinds of spiritual gifts are listed in Romans chapter 12, and I'll refer you there. We're not going to read it. Romans chapter 12, verse 3 to 8, if you can read that, you'll realize the different kinds of gifts that the Bible speaks about. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, if you read the whole chapter, basically, from verse 1 to verse 31, it will actually show you the different kinds of gifts that many have. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 7 to 16, and I'm sure you'll realize that the issue of spiritual gifts is well articulated in the Bible. And there's no way we can say we don't know that, because the Bible is very loud about it. And there are a lot of scriptures about that, and hence we refer you to those. The book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 9 to 11 as well. So please look at that. You'll realize that spiritual gifts are more emphasized in the Bible itself. Every leader, whether a pastor or a board member, or you are a chairperson of a church, or you are an elder, you should ask this important question: do I have a natural or a spiritual gift of leadership? So that must be a question that you ask yourself. Do you have a natural or do you have a spiritual gift of leadership? Did God evidently show you the spiritual gift of leadership? Or do you have that natural gift? Ask yourself that question. And that's very, very important question that every leader should ask themselves. If I don't, will I be able to lead this ministry? So you must ask yourself, if you don't have any of these gifts, are you able to lead the ministry? So that's the question that must arise from every single leader. Not many pastors are asking these questions, and I've come across few churches that select the board members on the basis of leadership gift. And they are not many that are choosing because of leadership gift. Some are actually choosing people because they can pray. Some are choosing people because they are part of their family members. Some are choosing people because they're purely just their friends. And because they like them, they choose them, and not necessarily because of the gifts that they have. There are very few that appoint people based on the gift. And that's very, very that's very important. However, this doesn't have to be a concern, because some pastors appoint people, then teach them. Pastors will lead. Pastors with leadership gifts, they find that board members with leadership gifts become problematic to them, and they threaten them therefore because they've got gifts as well. So therefore, it's very important that when you've got a leadership gift as a pastor, if you're having a board members that are having leadership gifts as well, so please never be threatened by them. And most of the time, we claim that they're problematic, and sometimes it's not really because they're problematic. It's because of the threat that they pose to the leader or the overall leader, which is the pastor. Everyone is trying to lead, but no one is following in some of the churches. But there are cases whereby you find that everybody, because of the leadership gift, they're actually aiming to lead, and everybody's leading, and therefore there's a confusion of who should be following. And that becomes problematic sometimes. And I must just highlight that, so that if it is in the church, and even if you're having a leadership gift, so please let there be some people that are following. My view is that the pastor is the one to give leadership direction to the board, not vice versa. And that's my view. And as Church Governance Solutions, we emphasize also that the pastors are the ones who are visionaries. And as visionaries, they should be able to give what we call leadership direction. Not the board, not the committee, not the chairperson, but the pastor should be the one who's giving visionary direction. And in that regard, you'll find the church runs smoothly and very, very important. These board members may not have or need leadership gifts. Instead, their service is to work with a godly gifted pastor, praying for, supporting him or her, advising, and also interacting with the person. So, in other words, the leadership may not have those gifts of leadership, but their purpose should be there to support the men or women of God. Their purpose should be there to advise, to give advices, or also to interact with him as a person or her as a person, and also praying for the pastor. But the pastor should be gifted in leadership. That's very, very key, so that the spiritual or leadership direction can be given in this regard. A natural gift is also a unique gift. God-given ability to service. And God has given this natural gifts so that we can be able to serve him as well with those gifts. There are two main differences between a spiritual gift and a natural gift. And I want to outline that just before I close today. God gives natural gifts to unbelievers as well as believers based on his common grace that is in the book of Matthew chapter 5 verse 45. And I'm sure you realize that there are those non-believers that are having natural gifts as well. Because God gives natural gifts to both believers and non-believers. And that is done indiscriminately. And as it is in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 45. And usually, he bestows them at birth in this regard. Those that have natural gifts, you'll realize that they were born with that. And they've got that from birth. And they will actually resemble those, whether they are born again or not, but they will have these gifts. Whereas spiritual gifts, or what we call, whereas scriptures provide a several list of spiritual gifts. They are listed in the Bible. Spiritual gifts. It doesn't list natural gifts at all, but the spiritual gifts, they would include many different abilities and talents such as leadership, administration, understanding finances, singing, or even carpentry. These are what we call natural gifts. They are not mentioned much in the Bible. They are not mentioned much as individuals. But you'll see that there are some people that had those. Joseph had a natural gift of wisdom and discernment. And that's in the book of Genesis, chapter 41, verse 39. And I think the scriptures will highlight to you mainly the spiritual gifts. And of course, there are some talents that are showing as well, that people are showing in the Bible. People are showing as an example in the Bible, but the Bible doesn't dwell much on the natural gifts. Leaders' gifts provide them with the special abilities needed to carry out their ministry. So leaders would be wise to know that their spiritual and their natural gifts are, and what gifts are needed to lead in their ministry. So this is very, very important, that each and every leader should know what their spiritual gifts are. They must know also what their natural gifts are, because for that regard, you'll be able to lead the ministry that God has given you, or the specific service that God called you in. You can accomplish this by taking spiritual gifts inventory, and the natural gifts and abilities indicators are there as well, that we need to look at and read through them and understand what they are. And the good Lord will bless you as you understand what your natural gifts are. And every leader should know. You should know also what are your spiritual gifts, so that you can be able to best serve God in the ministry that God has given you. I want to end up here today, your host, Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. And I want you to remember our Facebook page, Young Men Empowerment Forum, our Facebook page, Church Governance Solutions, and Micornus Phokane. Like those pages. But also don't forget our YouTube channel as well, which is Young Men Empowerment Forum. And please remember to click notification button on that. After subscribing, you'll be reminded of all the materials that we posted in there, and the good Lord will bless you as you do that. Join us once more tomorrow as we continue with this great topic of capable leaders. May the good Lord bless you, and allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.